Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, yes. I'm on the phone with folks at Badge and Wallet, and I think they're still confused. They think that we are some type of a private corporation. I did direct them to the document that says we're identified as a government, but I thought it would be helpful if you were on the call, so I'm going to merge you if that's okay. And
Yes,
the
ma'am.
representative we're talking to is named Kate. She's in their ID verification department.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, Kate, we are back with you. Can you hear me well?
I can, yes, I can hear you perfectly. Evelyn, yes, and do we have Christopher also?
Yes, ma'am.
We have President Kennedy on. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Thank you for taking the time, both of you. I appreciate it. Evelyn was just going through the documents that you had sent over President Cannon today, and talking about, we're just trying to understand, like, you guys thought as the United States of America Republic Corporation, trying to what you guys are and make sure that
What
Well, the charter. Yeah, the charter says. I'm sorry. The charter says it all, that we are lawfully chartered and incorporated state government. We are a government entity. We are part of GSA as well. You can look us up in the GSA and see that we are a government entity. In our charter, it states that that we do have power and authority to write and create laws and enforce those laws to protect lives and property by maintenance of a police force. So within our charter states the powers that we have and the authority that we have to do what we're doing. So I also sent you a certificate of authority from the state of Maryland, where the Secretary of State of Maryland is stating that we had the power to do everything stated in our charter or articles of incorporation, however you want to look at it.
Got it. Okay. So it looks like you guys are incorporated. So are you incorporated in the state of Maryland? I thought it was Indiana.
We in 16 states and Washington, D.C., as well as Canada right now. We operate in 16 states in Canada. So what we do is we get what's called a certificate of authority, which places whatever state that we're operating in, it places them on notice that we're there operating. And so the Secretary of State would pull up our charter from the state of Indiana. They read it. They give it to their Attorney General. They make sure there's nothing illegal that we're trying to do or whatever in it. But it basically places each state that we're operating in basically on notice that we're there and we are operating.
Got it. Okay. And what do y'all do specifically?
Well, it's a government that operates like any other government operates. So we do law enforcement. We have our own courts. We have our own legislative body, which is in the GSA. If you look it up in the GSA, it's telling you we're executive, legislative, and judicial. Public administration is what we do.
Oh, I see. Okay, so what types of, like, so when you make a law, is it everyone in the state subject to your laws, or?
What's your nationality?
What's that?
What's your nationality?
United States of America.
That's your nationality?
Yeah, why?
The United States of America is not a nationality.
Okay, I was born in the state of New York within the United States of America, so my nationality, I'm a citizen of the United States of America.
Okay, so now I'm an American. There's a difference in a citizen of the United States and an American citizen. A United States citizen is someone who has been naturalized or immigrated to America at one time or another. And under the United States laws, it specifically explains that under the Aliens and Immigration Act, Title 8. American is someone who cannot be naturalized through the laws of the United States, which are known in the Constitution as the native-born people. So we like the Aboriginal people of America who we're not immigrants.
Okay.
So a lot of people make this mistake, but it's just simply because they just don't teach us in school these things. So unless you actually study immigration law and Aliens and Immigration Act, you probably would not know this.
Yeah, I'm just not familiar, so I'm glad that
Right.
you're.
I mean, everyone has a nationality, and your nationality is usually where your ancestors are from. So if you're Irish American, then your homeland would be Ireland, which would make you the national citizen of Ireland. Same thing for somebody that's Scottish American, their homeland would be Scotland, Polish American, Poland, et cetera, et cetera. So
Okay.
again, because they don't teach correctly in school, they kind of don't get into all of that. You have the misconception that a lot of people have a big misconception of how what a national is, what a national citizen is, what a U.S. national is, what an alien is, what a permanent resident is, what a resident is. That most people don't understand those things. So you really have to be into government. You really have to be strong in civics, and you really have to study the Aliens and Immigration Act to understand.
Okay. All right. Um. Okay. So, who is subject to the laws that you guys create? Is it a that's I guess
by
that's what I'm
by
trying
us
to.
by us being a national citizen, eventually everyone would be subject to the laws of the national government. The national government is the highest government in any country. So in Japan, the Japanese people would be the national government. So it could be other citizens that reside and live there, but the Japanese would probably have the last say so on what's going on in their country because it's their country. So we pretty much operate the same way as the United States federal government. But we are higher than the United States federal government because we are the actual national government, which means the citizens of the country who are the Aboriginal people of that country. Usually, again, like I said, in Ireland, I would not be considered as a national citizen. Someone Irish who descendants, ancestors, and who descend from Irish descent would be the national citizens of Ireland. So the Irish people
So,
would have the last say so in their government.
so it
But
sounds like the natural citizens of America would be subject to your laws, but anyone who's descended from immigrants is not subject to your laws.
well,
Is that
anyone that's in our country would be subject to our laws because we're the national citizens. Now, each person that's here reside and live under any government that they choose to live under. So you can live under any government that you want. Right now, the federal government, because of slavery and all the misteaching, uh, they've been basically acting as trustees for the native born people over the lands. So I'm pretty sure you've seen like a movie like Braveheart where they had colony posts in the country, and the Scottish got to fighting for their independence and their freedom, and the laws in England applied over them and their lands, and et cetera, et cetera. This is like a well known history, all over the world when you're dealing with colonization of countries. So this is 2020, and people are waking up and finding out the truth. That guess what? They never bought so-called Negro, Color, Black, and African Americans, which is not a nationality or people that truly exist because Black is a color. It's an adjective, as well as African American. Africa is a continent, and America is a continent. And even people from Africa do not relate to themselves or call themselves Africans. They're Nigerian, Rwandan, like President Obama said, he's Kenyan American. People have nationalities. They're created by God. God designated certain countries to certain people and individuals. So when we start colonizing other lands, taking them over, all this crazy stuff, and maybe some people don't think it's crazy, but we can very easily verify history and verify anything that I'm saying. So when we start really learning the true history, then everything starts running more smooth. People get along better because now people understand the true history of other people they're living around, et cetera, et cetera. So when you go to Article 3 of the United States Constitution, it is telling you that It says between citizens of the same state claiming the same lands under grants of different states, which is a very clear statement in the Constitution of the United States, which is saying basically me and you could be citizens and living in the same state, but we are under two different state governments. You're under one state government, I'm under another state government, and we both are living in, let's say, the state of Illinois.
Okay.
Do-
So is it folks? So who's subject to the laws that are created by your government?
I thought I just answered that. Right now, again, it depends on what government you are a citizen of. Anyone could be a citizen under our government. Anyone can. So eventually, the national government will start determining the legal statuses of citizens in America.
So does an individual decide whether, like, let's say somebody is living in, the state of Colorado?
Hmm.
Do they decide if they're subject to the laws of the United States of America Republic or the state of Colorado, or do you decide?
Well, they decide. They decide what you can't force anybody to be a citizen under your government. That don't work that way. Citizenship is a voluntary thing. People have to voluntarily decide what government they're going to live under. You can't force people to
Okay, so
live under a certain government.
so when the United States of America Republic as a government makes a law and wants to enforce those laws, it's enforcing laws over those individuals who have chosen to be citizens of the United States of America Republic. Is that a true statement?
Yes, that is a very true statement.
Ah,
But
wonderful. All right,
but
so yeah,
but
I'm smart.
but listen to me closely. But eventually, so yes, say for example, like now, the United States government is $22 trillion in debt. They will never come out of that debt. They will never come out. And to give you an idea of how much money that is, basically the United States could have paid $1 million a day since the time Jesus Christ was here, and guess what? They still would not have paid 1 trillion.
Mhm.
So that's letting you know that they're not coming out of debt. So
Yeah, a
what
lot of
people have to begin to understand is everything is not forever. Everything that has a beginning also has an end. So does colonization, and we witness it all over the world periodically. Different countries that was colonized, eventually the Queen of England turns those countries back over to the Aboriginal people or the native-born people whose country it is, and that's the beginning of that the national government perspective or nation states coming back into power over their lands. Now, it's not nothing for anybody to be scared of, petrified about. Well, who gonna put these laws on me and you gonna do? No, that's not how it works. Here in America, the states are in a contractual agreement with the federal government. So the federal government is formed from what's called a compact. So it's a sovereign. Uh, really, Washington D.C. is a British colony, but it's a sovereignty that entered into contractual agreement with the states. So when you read the United States Constitution, it's saying the states are saying what powers they delegated to the United States, and the United States is saying what powers the states have and what powers the states don't have. The states is saying in the United States Constitution what powers the United States have and the powers the United States don't have. Okay, so the national government, it has what's called a treaty agreement with the federal government, which is the longest unbroken treaty in the history of the United States, which is called a Peace and Friendship Treaty of 1787, superseding 1836, and they sign it every 49 years. So the last time they re-signed it was 1987. When you read that treaty, you will see that that treaty is between the United States and the Moorish, basically the Moorish American people. So when you read it, it speaks about Moors and it speaks about Moorish American. You'll see the word Moorish in there. So again, it's a lot of history that hasn't been taught to a lot of people, and I know some things could be scary to some people, but it operates basically the same. So our people are basically learning the truth, and unfortunately, certain individuals took it upon themselves to totally like try to erase entire history of a people And luckily, thank God that they wasn't able to be successful and totally erase the entire history. That history is emerging and being read and being understood, and what's taking place is being understood, and what's been done. So, uh, when they teach that they brought so-called Negro, color, black, and African Americans to America from Africa, all that stuff is lies, and it's very easy to find out that those are lies. After the abolishment of slavery in 1865, Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, they spoke on uh, so-called Negroes colonizing Africa. The only way you could colonize a country is that you're not from that country. Showing again, and it's many, even Donald Trump, when he went to when he was trying to open up his casino, he said, "I've been up to the Indian reservation. I ain't seen no Indians up there." Even he know that the real Indians are the so-called Negro, color, black, and African American people are the real Indians, and that the other Indians that people think are the real Indians are really British.
Hmm. Wow, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. Um, all right. So, listen, I certainly don't want to take up too much more of your time. I understand that y'all are busy. I just wanted to, I guess, understand um, about your government. And, you know, I think, um, okay, so I think as far as this, my last question is obviously Evelyn is representing then the United States of America Republic, and this order is for the government itself, right? Not for an individual.
Right.
You guys
Exactly.
are buying this.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Out to your government police, to give out to your government marshal.
Exactly. Exactly. So we're going to have actual marshals, and we have what's called vice gerents. Our vice gerents would be our uniform officers.
Hmm. Okay,
Hmm.
great.
And you should go
All
to
right,
our
good.
website, and if you want to learn more, you can go to. We got a website that you can actually learn on. So you can actually go to
Yeah,
our website
I actually did
and
visit
read.
your website last night. I did visit it just to check it out and try to learn a little bit more about what you guys are
Well, if you ever
about and
have,
what you guys.
yeah, and if you ever have questions, I'm 24 hours, so you can always call me. I answer all questions. I don't have a problem with
Oh,
answering
thank you.
questions. I think the more educated people are, the better we all will be.
Yeah, well, I agree 100%. So I appreciate your time. So as far as logistics on getting this order done,
Hmm.
so the first step on our side is going to be for us to create a technical proof of the seal to show you how it's going to look when it's manufactured.
Hmm.
We'll do that. Usually it takes about a week to get that done.
Hmm.
Once we get that, we'll send it off to you. You'll have the chance to review it and approve it or make any changes that are needed. Once the seal artwork is approved, then we'll get the whole order into production, and it takes about 6 weeks.
Okay. All righty.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
great. So we'll be in touch next week with the technical proof. And in the meantime, if you don't have any questions for us, you know how to get in touch with us. Otherwise, we'll speak to you next week, and we hope you have a nice weekend.
Okay, you too.
Okay. And before we hang up, Kate, there is one thing that needs to be changed on the order, and that is the badge that had been requested for the title cadet.
Mm-hmm.
For the yeah, we want to take that off for right
Take
now. So we're actually going to be ordering 5 badges instead of 6, and so we need to remove cadet.
Okay, no problem. So
Okay.
I'll get that badge, and I'll issue a refund of $100. And if you want to order in the future, you can definitely do that. We'll have the seal
Sure.
file so you can order it.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
All right, I'll take
Yeah, I have
Yes,
one
sir.
question for you. She was telling me that you said something about y'all gave badges to another government that was supposedly from Moors or something like that.
Really?
Yes, when I spoke with Ann yesterday, Ann was the first person that I spoke with after Mike. She indicated that somewhere in the past that Badge and Wallet had made badges for another group who had indicated that they, in fact, were the Moorish national government. And so that's what President has reference to and did say that. And I expressed to her that they were not, that we are the de jure government, and that I wanted to know more about who these people were and, you know, exactly what the name of their government was, so on and so forth. We didn't get into that detail. So that's what President is asking about. Who are these people who say that they are the national government for Moors, for Moorish community? Uh-huh. You may want to speak with Anne, because she was the one who shared that with me.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I'll speak with Anne and I'll get more information about that other group. And if there's anything to be concerned about, I'll certainly let you guys know.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So as I understand it, we're in process, and so I'll just be waiting to hear back from you all, either via email or by phone. Either way.
And yeah, expect to get an email from us next week showing you the technical artwork. I'm going to tell you now, the technical artwork, they'll show a yellowish color for what's going to be gold. They always use a yellow color, but it will be shiny gold when we make the seal, so don't be alarmed when you see it and you're like, why is it yellow? I want it to be gold. They just use yellow because gold doesn't really do well on, like, computer screens, but the badges will be shiny gold just like the badges.
All right. Okay.
All right, so we'll send that over to you as soon as it's ready sometime next week, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you both. Have a good weekend.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, President.
You're welcome. Peace and love.
Bye-bye.